Welcome to the first Motivation Monday. Basically what I want to do in this is just talk about stuff that's different other than fitness. All my content's very fitness based, but I think that's honestly just such a small part of who I am. I think in any area of life, when you're trying to do something, every other area of your life will affect that. And it's hard to realize that sometimes when you get so tunnel visioned on one thing, especially with things like fitness, where it's obviously very closely related to your body, with working out, with being in the gym, but all your other lifestyle factors around that are going to matter so much in terms of the progress you make and how proud you are of actually making progress in general. So basically Motivation Monday is just going to be something where I just talk about a ton of different stuff. It doesn't have to be fitness related, it might be, but I just want people to get to know me a little bit better, because fitness isn't easy. Everything else in your life matters, everything else ties into it, and I want to share kind of my story and exactly what it is that got me into fitness, and hopefully some of my experiences will be relatable enough to where some of you guys can take your own motivations from this. When people start their fitness journeys, it almost seems like they're being vain to other people, and I think that's something that is very difficult to relate to sometimes, especially if you haven't started your fitness journey. But if you have, I think a lot of people know exactly what I mean. And I think really what that comes down to specifically is kind of just the idea of sacrifice. If you decide someday that you're going to make a change, that you want to be better in some way, if you want to do all these things, then you're going to have to sacrifice things without even knowing it, to be honest. I really do believe that no matter what, you're going to have to sacrifice stuff. And basically because you're going to sacrifice stuff no matter what, you might as well choose what it is, because you're going to be happier and more fulfilled if you choose the sacrifice versus the sacrifice chooses you. Life is going to be hard, and that's something that I think not a lot of people will admit it should be like that, because they think that you can create this reality that's just going to be perfect and that everything someday is going to be fine if you work hard, and once you get to your goal, then that's the whole point. But the more successful people I talk to, or the more people who are trying to do things with their life and actively learn and kind of accept their responsibility, what I'm learning is it's really not about the destination, it's all about the journey. But just going back to sacrifice. Sacrifice is something that's so important. I told myself as a kid, no matter what it was, I was going to sacrifice things to get to where I want to be, to where I've always known I'm going to go. And I guess that kind of brings me to exactly where I am right now. So basically what I'm doing right now is I own a fitness coaching company where I help people make transformations. I help people lose weight, gain weight, learn about fitness. That's kind of something that I think I've definitely identified as and with recently. But I don't think a lot of people know how I got there. So I'll kind of go into that story a little bit and start to tell it, because it's something that I think not a lot of people know. Another reason that I'm doing this is just to challenge myself to get better at speaking, to put myself out there. You know, I think that this is very uncomfortable for me to do sometimes, but the reason I wanted to do it like this, in this style where it's just me, is I think we can all relate to being ourselves when we're alone and being almost somebody else when we're with people. And I don't really think that's a bad thing. I just think that we're not all genuine to ourselves at times, and really what that results in is us not getting things that we want or feel like we deserve. So what I'm trying to do right now is really express that person who I am when I'm by myself, and let people see who that is, because honestly it's very fulfilling to have people see who you really are and have them accept you for you. It's not always an easy thing to do, I think, but it's definitely something that is rewarding, and I think more people should try to do earlier on in life. But back to fitness and how I started my fitness coaching business. So fitness has always been in my life in some way. As a kid, I grew up playing soccer, and that was kind of my stress relief. I loved it. You know, I put all my time and attention into that. Even to this day, I would say personally for me, that's something that is my only true failure in life. I really believed as a kid that that was going to be what I did forever, and that didn't work out for a number of different reasons. But kind of the excuse I always give myself is the fact that I graduated from high school in 2020, and it was kind of an obviously weird year for everybody just in terms of what was going on. So my plans kind of changed in terms of college and school like that. So it was time to go to college in 2020, and I went for a little bit online and realized that I didn't like it, and I didn't go in person because, to be honest, my family really couldn't afford it, so it was going to have to be an investment that I made and that I decided on. So I decided initially to do it through online because it was cheaper and it was something that I could do and kind of see how it felt. And honestly, after a while, I just didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. It was something I didn't want to do. And, you know, looking back on it now, that was a very tough time for me. All my friends left me. I feel like I had a lot of friends in school, and that was something that I really enjoyed being a part of. But looking back on it now, I never would have known how good that would be for me not to go. So at the same time, obviously I had a lot of free time on my hands because I was doing school online. I needed a job that I wanted to do and that I actually didn't hate doing. So I think this is kind of a funny story how this ended up happening, and again, it's just crazy how things can end up as a result of this. But basically, I went to an interview at Home Depot because I was just scrolling through jobs online and trying to find something that I'd never done. You know, I'd bag groceries, I'd wash dishes, I'd done all that typical stuff, and this was just something new. Had no idea what Home Depot was going to be like. So I went in for an interview, and what they did was they handed me the job on the spot, and they're like, hey, you know, you're going to get covered in paint every day, stand on this concrete floor, all this type of stuff. And I left there being like, no way I can do this. This just isn't for me. I know myself well enough. Like, I don't want to do this. You know, if I'm gonna get a shitty job, I might as well have a shitty job that's a little bit more enjoyable than this. So driving home, I was like, there's so many different stores around here, I can try to do something. And I saw a sign for Planet Fitness. And you know, being in the gym for a couple of years at this point, I've been like, oh my God, it's a Planet Fitness, like all the stigma around that, whatever. But I went in and, you know, talked to the people, and I got a job at the front desk. And basically what happened with that was I worked at the front desk for a while, and then the trainer that they had, that each gym at Planet Fitness only carries one trainer, and the trainer that they had at that point, he left, and so I took over and was a trainer there for a while. But lucky enough for me, that Planet Fitness was actually the flagship location. The world headquarters was really close, so I got to meet a lot of the people that were very important in the business itself. Over my time there, I got to work with 200 plus clients, and the cool thing about that is, I know there's a lot of negative stigma around that gym specifically, but the cool thing is, as a trainer, you can basically do whatever you want there. So I was very interested in doing well. I felt like I had a purpose again after not going to school and, you know, just trying to do better. But growing up, some of my life was actually very sick too, which always impacted me as a kid, which is why I valued fitness so much subconsciously from the start, because I'd seen what someone being sick could look like. So I worked as a trainer there for a while and, you know, developed a large understanding of that big business, you know, how it worked, all the type of stuff. But I was seeing a lot of good feedback from people, and I really enjoyed training. I got into it myself. I loved helping people out, you know, having them tell me that they were doing all these great things that they'd never done before as a result of working with me. And it felt crazy because I was 18 at the time. You know, most of my clients, I would say, were between 30 and 50. And it was just crazy to have all these adults respect me because of things that I thought most people knew, but I realized they didn't know about fitness. And again, I didn't really have the opportunity to go to school for this. So I did all my own research. I looked up all my own stuff, tested, tried out all this stuff, because what I found pretty quickly was most people wanted to lose body fat, and I'd never done that myself. I was a skinny kid growing up, so I decided that in order to help my clients out, I was going to gain a lot of body fat on purpose, kind of let myself go, and then show them how to lose it because I'd done all the research on how to do it. So after being there for a couple years and learning about all of that, I really started to reflect on what I'd done, and I felt good. I was really into fitness. I was really loving fitness, and it was something that I knew that I wanted to do more. So I started a website, I started making blogs, and I started doing all that stuff, and then that just gave me an idea to make programs, and I started making programs and selling those online. So I was kind of, in a way, without even realizing it, forming my own business at that point, but it never was going to be that. So the website was kind of the first thing that started that off for me, just in terms of really having, you know, something of my own, a product and that type of stuff. So even that though, that was really early on into my Planet Fitness career. I started doing that. But after a while, I kind of realized that I wasn't valued as much as I should have been. And it wasn't necessarily the business's fault. It's just the way that they're set up. I wanted to first get people comfortable in the gym and then get them confident. And I felt like I didn't really have the resources or support I needed to do that. And like anything else, when you're kind of being overworked, I felt like there was no next step for me. So, you know, meeting so many great people there really changed my life, because I can remember in so many instances where I talk to people and get to know them and work with them for several weeks, because obviously I'd be seeing them on a day-to-day basis most of the time to train them. So I like to think that I'm pretty talkative when I'm around people. Definitely by myself, I'm more quiet, but around all these people, obviously, if we're going to be hanging out, you know, there's only so much to talk about in between sets. So we started to get to know each other a lot, and you know, I think my age definitely had something to do with the fact that they were so willing to talk to me, because they all kind of wanted to help me out in a way when I would express things like my hopes and my dreams, and telling them the website that I had and all that stuff. And they all really, they believed in me, because there was an exchange. All these people I worked with there gave me insight into life and what it could be in terms of the good and bad. So I kind of gave them that literal skill of fitness in a way that I think I completely undervalued for a long time when I was there, because I realized after having a lot of people, they thought it was so valuable, and that made me feel valuable. At this point, I'd probably been there for a year and a half, 2 years, and I was really feeling like I wanted to do more. I wanted to take on more in that business. I wanted to help more people out. and there just really wasn't a next step for me. And that paired with all the experience that I got from talking to people, of them basically saying their occupation and what they did would usually lead to some type of conversation where, you know, they're talking about their hopes and their dreams at one point and their passions. And I noticed pretty quickly that most people I had that same conversation with, the second I asked the question of what they do, you know, it's like, it was crazy. I could see it in their eyes, the ones who enjoyed what they're doing and the ones who didn't. And I wasn't afraid to ask them questions. I would ask them questions about life, about all this stuff. And basically what they all told me was something very similar. All the people who told me that they love what they're doing, you know, they all said some type of risk at some point. There was a road that they were on. They had to take the path that nobody else wanted to take because it might not have been safe. It might not have been what people wanted. It might not have made them feel like everybody else at that point. But all the people who were unhappy with what they were doing in their life told me they made the opposite choice, that they wish they could go back and do all this stuff, and if they were my age they'd do X, Y, and Z. And that kind of scared me. It made me really reflect and realize I'm literally at that road right now, and if I don't do something that I want to do, then I'm gonna end up like this. And I think that's true for all of us. You know, it's not to say 20 years old is the age where that happens to all of us, but I think that we're all pushed along for so long in things like school, pushed along in just things that everybody else does, that we never stop and look at how far out is what I'm doing right now going to affect me. As a result of working there, I realized that I loved helping people, I loved fitness, I loved training people, talking to people and getting to know them, and just being able to kind of share information. And it feels like an energy transfer in a way, where when I was training them, I would have people come back and say the doctor was proud of them, they were losing weight, their blood work was getting better, they valued nature a lot more because they could walk around. And to me, being 18, 19 years old, that was amazing to hear. I felt like a kid who'd found his purpose.